So winter's almost upon us, ski season's just around the corner. My name's Alex Chumpy Pullin. I'm going to give you a few hints and tips and maybe refresher ideas on how to have a good and safe trip down to the snow. First things first, guys, good idea to check what the weather's going to be doing. A couple of really good apps like Mountain Watch or Snow Forecast. Get an idea of the conditions, know what you're going to be up against. If there's a big storm front coming in, there's got to be some fresh snow. Really handy, especially if you're going to be staying off mountain, just to plan out things like chains and how you got to get to and from the hill. So up next would probably be to check out your car, make sure it's up for the conditions down at the snow. Obviously pretty harsh sometimes, pretty cold. You want to just make sure that you've probably had a service recently, everything's running smooth. It is a long way down to the snow. The other thing would be probably give it a clean. If you're worried about your Duco, they do put a lot of salt and minerals and chemicals on the road to keep the roads safe. Can be pretty hard to wash off. So if you have a clean car to start with, it's much easier to wash off when you get home. So something you want to make sure you have right before you leave is your snow chains. You don't necessarily have to own them, but if you do own them, make sure they match up with your car that you'll be driving down the snow. A lot of people tend to forget which car that they were fitted for, and chains are very specific to that tyre size. Another thing is knowing your chains well, knowing exactly where the clip on the back of the tyre is so that you can park it in the right position before taking them off. Just makes the whole process a lot quicker, a lot easier and pain-free. Also, another handy thing to bring is a cloth. After putting them on and off, sometimes it's just nice to be able to wipe yourself clean before getting back into the car and driving again. If you are renting chains down the hill, that's totally fine. There's plenty of places to do that, and normally they'll give you some really good tips. A really important thing to check out before you go putting your chains on is making sure whether your car is front wheel or rear wheel drive. Too many times we see people still sliding down the hill even though they got the chains on, or not being able to make it up. If you do have the option to try your chains on before you leave home, it's a very good idea to do that, just so that you're familiar with everything again, making sure you know where and what position you're going to need to park the car in. Nothing worse than getting halfway up or down the hill and having a battle with your chains. So when you get down to the high country, always good to stop through town before heading up the mountain. One of the things I definitely suggest if you have a diesel car is fill up at least half a tank of fuel with Alpine diesel. Nothing worse than getting up the mountain and finding out the next day you won't be able to start it because you've got a frozen tank of fuel. So getting towards the packing side of things now, guys, if there's only a couple of you going down, you have fair chances you'll be able to fit your boards and skis in the car, and I suggest doing that. Just makes it easier when traveling. If you're leaving the car, you can lock it, everything's inside, as well as saving on fuel economy with the wind drag that sometimes having things on the roof can cause. As well as that, I tend to try and balance it in the car based on where everyone's sitting, just so the weight is dispersed a bit more evenly, just keeps your car riding a bit more smooth. Packing all the rest of your bags and everything in to make sure it all sits down nice and tight. Plenty of windy roads down in the high country of Australia, so you don't want anything sliding around, and making sure that everything you need accessible is close to either the back or the side doors, just so you don't need to constantly rearrange everything, and makes the trip down nice and easy. Always make sure chains are the last thing you pack, because they're going to be probably the first thing you need when you get down there. So once you got the rest of the car nice, packed and tight, good to have just a bit of water, a couple of snacks, things like Red Bull up in the front, just so you can easily grab them, keep the wheels turning, and especially a couple of good playlists, and maybe even some podcasts just to keep yourself well entertained on the way down. Make sure you get there nice and safe. So hopefully that's a couple of tips to refresh your memory on how to get your car and gear ready for when you head down to the snow this season. I hope you guys all have a safe trip and get plenty of days out there scoring some power. Have fun.